Sorry about the mess. I don't think there's actually a reason for me to apologize because it's not like I'm creating a mess in your room. But part of me sees everything around me, and I just feel grossed out myself. It's it is pretty gross. I mean, I can't find my laundry bag, so all my dirty laundry is kind of just stuffed into a corner of the room. Um, it wouldn't be fair for me to blame my roommates, but they're pretty fucking messy too. You know. Um, it's been it's been just like 6 months and 4 days since I got here. I got to college, and I've been battling with a certain idea for quite some time, and it's kind of it's about the foundation of why I'm here and what I'm doing here, right? And I'm trying to figure out if what exactly my purpose and my reason of being here is, so that I can really create a set of rules for myself, a way of thinking that will bring clarity to my mind and will enable me to do what I want to do in accordance to the goals that I want to achieve. But it's been it's been difficult because I've spent so much of the last year kind of just trying trying to get better in a linear fashion, right? I've been on my self improvement grind, you know, and it's been good, right? Well, it had been good because I feel like that kind of grind ended the moment I got here 6 months ago. It was pretty good because I was living in kind of like an isolated environment. I was living in a bubble, right? And it's when you're inside a bubble, like there is definitely like objective metrics as to which you can live your life by, and that's great. It's this looks like shit. It's good to have real objective metrics so that you can enter this phase of your life and be like, okay, this is what I want to accomplish in this month, this year, this X amount of time, and you can start working on these goals. And that works. It works for a lot of people. It probably works for everyone at a certain point in their lives. But after coming here, an environment that is the complete opposite of what I was living in for that 1 year. It's it's made me kind of reevaluate my entire basis for what I'm meant to do. It's made me reevaluate everything that's gone on in my life, and it's I've kind of realized at this point that there exists two phases in your life. One is the explore phase, and the other is the exploit phase. So the explore exploit sort of conundrum is used. It's a pattern that you see in so many different places. You see it in something like a design process, right, where you explore different options, and then when you come to one option, you try and exploit it. Let me give you a let me give you a very simple analogy. Let's say your um, gym analogy again. Let's say you start working out, right, and you start you s- and you're trying to figure out what kind of exercise is the best for you. So you go and you try out physical sports. You try out tennis, you try out boxing, you try out weightlifting. Now out of these three, you like weightlifting the most. So then that explore phase of trying out different sports and different um, methods of getting healthier you then exploit one of them, right? Or exploit one or two of them even. Maybe you want to play tennis and weightlift at the same time. Now between tennis and weightlifting, you try out different things. You try out different playing styles in tennis. Maybe I don't know how tennis works. I've never played tennis. Um, maybe you maybe you're like more of an active player and you're constantly running all across the pitch and you're super fast and super aggressive, or you could be like the kind of laid back, calm, composed sort of player who plays with his mind rather than his arms. And then you try and pick one of these styles and you move forward with it. You exploit it, and or in the weightlifting sense, maybe you'd be trying out different splits. You'd be exploring the different splits you can apply, and then you figure out that a push pull leg split works for you for 6 days of the week. Then you exploit that. You do that for like a month, for 2 months, for 3 months, and then you explore again. Maybe you find out that okay, you need to be focusing more on training your back and your lats. Then you change your split up a little bit. Maybe you start incorporating more back exercise. You start focusing on pull-ups. And through that you you start exploring and exploiting, and over time you just end up getting really good at that one thing, right? So this explore exploit sort of process, we've seen it. We've I think yeah, it was James Clear who talked about in Atomic Habits. That's when I was introduced to it. that that concept, it works really well for skills that are kind of small in some way, skills that don't take much time to get good at, maybe a year or two. And what I feel like is that this same sort of principle, it also applies on like on a larger scale. I think it applies to you in your life. I think it applies to a lot of people at whatever stage they are in their lives, because you can categorize your phase in life into one of these two phases, and you can go with you can create a certain set of principles. Let me give you an example. When these guys online talk about monk mode, right? They're on a phase of monk mode for 6 months to a year, and that phase of monk mode is very intense on developing your health, your fitness, your intellectual capability, being able to push your boundaries in terms of your work, whatever. If you're working on a business, monk mode is brilliant. You kind of cut off all of your friends. You kind of cut off everything else in your life that you feel is a distraction from your purpose, and you just do that thing over and over again for a long period of time. And then you're at the end of the 1 year, 6 months, you're like, shit, I've improved so much. Like, this has been an incredible phase. I'm a completely different person now. But after that, you ca- you realize at some point that you can't keep doing this for the rest of your life, because it's just so linear, right? There's no you 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 might not realize this in the moment, but you might actually be missing out on a lot of brilliant opportunities. Let's say um, if you've made $100,000 over the course of 6 months of monk mode, you might be missing, and you choose at the end of those 6 months to continue working that monk mode state for another year. You might actually be missing out on another opportunity that makes you $1 million over the course of a year. And a lot of people really get obsessed with the idea of monk mode and being, just doing one thing over and over again for a long period of time. And that just becomes what they are. That just becomes who they are. That's their whole identity now. And the and without exploring, you can't really have access to to a lot of these different opportunities. Without exploring, you're not able to really network much. You're not really able to go out and talk to people that can provide you with these new opportunities. Not even on the level of career or academics, I'm talking about just daily real life experiences, right? You've got to have people around you that, you're when you're in monk mode, you're pushing yourself on a linear on a vertical level, right? But when you're out of that exploit phase, which is monk mode, you go into you go into an explore phase, and that explore phase is when you're is when you're out of that monk mode, and you're, let's say for me in college, right, where I'm meeting new people every single day, when I'm finding out like new things about myself, about the world. I'm learning new things, I'm learning different kinds of skills. That's a horizontal sort of, you're kind of pushing your limits on a horizontal level. And it's so important to have both of these to become kind of like a holistic person, and become new and become novel and have unique skills and traits that can't be replaced by other people. Because that's how you really find out your place in the world, right? You can't, if I'm genetically predisposed to be really good at, um, let's say, being a craftsman, right? And since birth, I've never really had exposure to that because I've lived in a city, and I've just sat on my computer all day. I've never had the opportunity to work with different kinds of materials and things of that sort. I'm never gonna get access to being a craftsman, where that that one thing of becoming a craftsman could lead me to a very very happy and fulfilling life, where I choose to do something that I'm really good at, and I might be able to provide value to many people in the world. And a lot of us just end up missing out on these things, just because of how individualized culture has become over the last couple of decades. Everyone's kind of everyone's kind of obsessed with just being I mean, it's not their fault, because you're not being forced to do because you're not being pushed or forced to do something different. You're not being pushed or forced to do something that could bring you happiness in your life. It's kind of hard to do this without a table. Oh yeah, for context, this is an assignment that I'm working on, where I have to create different forms and compositions with thermocol, and yeah, I basically just have to cut them up and put them together. It's uh, it's kind of tedious, but I guess it's helping me develop my skills of composition. This is high density thermocol by the way, which is pretty cool. I didn't even know this was a thing. Like it's so like this thermocol is pretty tough, right? I didn't expect like thermocol to be like such a usable material. This is one of the compositions that I've made, and like we had to put putty on it and kind of sandpaper sand it to make it kind of smooth. I don't know if this looks good. I really can't tell myself. But yeah, anyway, I think I'm in that kind of exploit explore phase in my life right now where I'm just trying to figure out new things. I'm trying to network. I'm trying to get to know people. I'm still trying to figure out what exactly is the path for me to get to do what I want to do in my life. And you know, I might be super interested in philosophy and psychology, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I have to do a course in psychology, right? There's so many ways of achieving something, and let's say psychology is its own sort of discipline in terms of academics. It doesn't necessarily mean that I have to I have to do psychology to get a good understanding of it. Maybe I can do stuff, a bunch of different stuff that surrounds psychology, and gain different perspectives on the same thing, right? And then when the time comes, I have the ability to really show off my holistic and really really good understanding of psychology, you know. And you know, being able to do something like that can only really come from a phase of exploration. Because if I told myself that I want to exploit the field of psychology, I'd just get I'd just do a course in psychology and I'd just be obsessed with it, and I'd just get good at that course, get good at doing my assignments, get good at gaining a specific kind of grasp. But in the big picture, there's so many other people who are doing that same thing. There's so there. If I have, I might have a batch of like 100 other students in the same course who are trying to do the exact same thing, right? And and the odds of me being different in that situation, me being able to stand out in that situation, are very low, right? I uh, it's okay. I'll fix it. Everything is figured outable. Shout out Ruga Korpe. Fuck this. I feel like I'm gonna cut my leg or something. I'm doing dangerous task. I really miss making YouTube videos because I feel like speaking is something that helps me gain clarity of my own ideas, right? And it's it's not really easy to speak to yourself a lot because you just don't have the time or the environment. Right now, both my roommates aren't here. They've both gone back to their homes, and it's given me the ability to kind of be alone and kind of voice myself and do things which I wouldn't have been able to do earlier on. Like the thing that I'm working on right now, probably my biggest priority right now, it's got nothing to do with assignments. It's an installation we're doing for an event in our college, and I've been involved in the whole process from ideation to execution from the start. And that whole process it's been brilliant. It's been incredible. I've learned so much about myself. I've learned things like how to push myself mentally, right? I've learned about the placebo effect, where it's like if you tell yourself that you're sleepy and you can't do something, then you won't be able to do it. I literally I went 3 days straight. I was up for like 30, not 36, 48, 72 hours with 3 hours of sleep in total. And I was still functioning and still working. And that little experience I wouldn't have been able to have if I was in my exploit phase, where I was like, no, every single day I have to be asleep by 9:30, get up at 5:30 in the morning, go on a run, do this, do that, yada yada yada. I wouldn't have been able to do that if I was so intent on kind of focusing on this like super um, David Goggins get up at 4:30 in the morning every single day sort of grind. And similarly, you can't really you can't do the opposite either. It's really difficult for me to go to the gym every single day because I'm in my explore phase. Because in my explore phase, I don't really have the time to have. I mean, I probably do. Maybe I'm coping here, but it's definitely a lot harder to have a super strict sort of schedule that you can adhere to every single day. It's way more difficult, and that's because I'm doing new things every single day. I'm trying to have different experiences. I'm trying to go out more. I'm trying to travel. I'm trying to learn more about the world. Right? I'm trying to figure things out on a lateral sort of basis. Nice. I hope the sound of sanding won't be too loud. Where's my sandpaper? Oh. It's not a good idea to have all these microplastics just in the air. Just breathing in all these microplastics. Definitely not a good idea. Fuck it, man. I don't have much of an option. But I've decided that, I'm living in unexploit phase. A phase where, so fuck it, man. What, I keep mixing up the two. I'm living in an explore phase, but I'm trying to explore different people, different things, different environments, and I can see how I can use this explore phase as an excuse, and end up doing something that is to my own detriment. I might end up doing drugs or some crazy shit. I know I won't, but like, a lot of people could be like, oh, I'm just exploring myself. I'm exploring the world. I want to explore psychedelics and drugs and shit. You know what I'm saying? That's up to that person to decide. I really like having um, a strict explore or exploit phase where I'm gonna decide what things I want to keep consistent in my life, and everything else I'll go with the flow, right? I'll follow my intuition to create something the moment I have the chance, as opposed to thinking of it and planning it out and trying to execute it on like a large scale. I'm just gonna do shit and I'm gonna learn from it. And then after a couple of years, when I feel like I'm ready to get into my sort of explore phase, or even um, in the summer once my semester is over, I'll be able to kind of really sit down with myself and be like, okay, I have 3 months now, and these 3 months I'm gonna focus super super hard. I think the microplastics are going into my throat. Anyway, in the summer, I'm gonna have the opportunity to sit down and be like, okay, I'm gonna focus super super hard on these two or three things, which is fitness, doing my internship, um, my family, and yeah, that's about it. I won't care much about my friends around me or traveling much. I'll just be super focused on something, and that'll take up all of my summer. And I'll be super clear with myself on that and with other people. And then once I'm back in college, I'll be ready to explore again. Or maybe I'd enter my second year of college with a completely different mindset. Man, I'm fucking this up. Really fucking this up. I have to make lines. Draw lines, man. Or I could take this. I think when you're in an explore phase, it's important to push past. You should be pushing past what you're comfortable with in whatever phase you're in your life. I think when you're in your explore phase, you should be pushing past your limits in terms of what you find what you're comfortable with. Right? If you're used to living in, you know, a really like nice apartment your whole life in like city like Bangalore or something, spend a year living in an ashram or something crazy like that, living with other people that you've never heard of, right? Or perhaps spend some time just exploring a country that you've never been to, like a third world country that's suffering from famine, or just do new novel things. Whereas when you're exploiting, you're meant to really just sit down and do something uncomfortable, in the sense that you have to do the one thing and do it over and over again, and push yourself to the point where you feel uncomfortable doing it. So this could be pushing to failure in the gym every single day. This could be if you're able to focus on a task for an hour straight, be able to focus on it for an hour and 30 minutes. If you have a pretty good diet, say you're eating junk food every 2 weeks, now change your diet in a way that makes you slightly uncomfortable, right? Because you have it's kind of like you have your own like little circle. um, no, not a circle. It's like, think of a vertical line and then a horizontal line, right? On the vertical line, you have to, when you're in your exploit phase, you have to get to the top of that line and push very little, just further than where it ends. So you're, if you do that on a daily basis, at the end of your monk mode exploit phase, your vertical line will have kind of grown by this much, whereas your your horizontal line stays the same. But in your exploration phase, if you keep pushing from both ends, because you're doing new things, you're not pushing on one end, you're pushing on both ends in different ways. You push a little bit every single day, and then by the end of the year of your explore phase, you've pushed quite far, so now you're a more holistic person, you're more experienced. And when you pair experience with um, when you take that experience and you use it for something, right? That I think that's what this whole thing is about. It's about your explore phase is about gathering experiences, and your explored phase is about turning those experiences into value addition, right? Whether that's a business or whether that's something that you're just really focused on doing. You use that time to get really fucking good at something and become the best in the world at it. That's what makes sense to me. And I don't know what this explore phase has for me in hand, but it, I'm gonna do some cool shit in this phase. You know what I'm saying? Some really cool shit. Um, I'm excited to see what happens, but I'm also terrified that I don't want to fall into a phase of life where I'm where I have some kind of addiction, or I'm just around the wrong people and unambitious people, and it's not doing me any good. That's what I'm afraid of. Is this the same thickness? Kinda is. Yeah, that would. Once I get my other camera here, I'm gonna whenever I'm doing some kind of like material work like sanding or something, I should have one camera that's kind of top down and really focus on what I'm doing in hand. Maybe it's sketching, maybe it's something else, while I'm talking over it. I like that idea a lot. Definitely something I could do. Because this is definitely a relaxing activity, aside from the fact that fuck, I have 5 minutes to get to somewhere else. हेलो. क्या कह रहा है? तेरी आवाज़ नहीं आ रही है ढंग से. हाँ जाना है एक. I'll call Shrishti and ask her. मैं अभी हॉस्टल में हूँ. मैं थर्मोकोल का काम कर रहा हूँ. रुक मैं सृष्टि से बात करता हूँ. I'll put you on conference. I'll call her and put you. Bye. अरे
आपण डायल केलेला नंबर सध्या व्यस्त आहे. कृपया
that's got microplastics in it, man. What the hell? But yeah, it is a bit difficult, I feel, to draw the line between, um, to draw a line in terms of where your exploration phase ends, like what limits are you willing to go to? Like me working on this right now, if I was in my like muck mode phase where I'm super focused on health, I would be doing this with literally a mask on, sunglasses on. I'd be sitting in a completely like confined area that's away from like a place where I live. I'm literally doing this in front of, like literally on the place where I sleep. Imagine the amount of microplastics I'll be breathing and how much it'll fuck up my health. But I'm not focused on my health right now, so maybe that's me uh, trying to rationalize my own laziness. It probably is, but still, like it fits into my current sort of life philosophy. If you get what I'm saying. I just sand that. Fuck man. A lot of people like kind of get this wrong, where a lot of people don't realize that they're supposed to supposed to be in an explore phase when they're really just they really try and be like, I gotta have a good routine, I gotta have this and that, while they're also trying to have these incredible new experiences. You can't do two things at the same time, man. For example, we have kind of like a tradition, not really a tradition, but it's a thing where every time there's an event, right, the college has to make its own installments and stuff. Installation, sorry, installments. And it's the students who make it. And the thing is that during the day, it's very difficult for us to make these installations, so we do it overnight. So from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. we work for like a couple of weeks to finish the installation. And and there's a lot of people that could have such incredible experiences and learn so much, who just don't apply because they'll be like, oh no, it'll ruin my routine for 2 weeks. But think of it as delayed gratification, right? Think of it as you messing up your routine right now and going through the pain of having a bad routine for 2 weeks, so that later on you can apply those experiences into your work into whatever you choose to do, and you in fact you'll be able to have many more nights with better sleep if you choose this kind of delayed gratification, because later on in life you won't have to stay up all night maybe worrying about a certain project because you're not able to finish it. Let's say I work with with bamboo. Okay, maybe later on in life you have to work with bamboo, and it's gonna take a lot more time and a lot more effort and a lot more energy going through the whole process of learning how to use it, and you might have to endure a lot of stress. But if I go through that stress right now of learning all these things, of learning how to work in a team, of working with certain materials, and later on I won't have to go through that learning phase. It's just that. And I have to tell myself that I have to compromise on my own health and my fitness so I can do this thing.
आपण डायल केलेला नंबर सध्या व्यस्त आहे. कृपया थोड्या वेळानंतर पुन्हा प्रयत्न करा. आपके द्वारा डायल किया गया नंबर अभी व्यस्त है. कृपया कुछ समय पश्चात प्रयास करें. The number you have dialed is currently
There's got to be certain lines you're not willing to cross. There's got to be certain things that you just can't compromise on. You you can't go completely all out. There's your life's values. You kind of need to have like a certain set of rules that you won't compromise on regardless of what phase of life you're in. Otherwise you can get to a point in your life which is kind of irreversible to get away from. Well, maybe not irreversible, but it might scar you, it might traumatize you. I don't know. I think people use the word trauma too much. It's too casually used. Kind of becomes a burden. You don't know what trauma is. You really don't. Not unless it impairs. I don't think it's trauma until it impairs your function, you know. Which I know there's certain things that have happened to me in my life that I regret having. Not to say that I had any control over whether they happened to me in my life or not. But there are certain things that I feel like have impaired certain functions. That's like actual trauma. Which people don't realize, people kind of ignore the actual sort of trauma that they've experienced, and they call like some random bullshit trauma when it's not. I got a lot of work, man. It's pretty stressful and frustrating. And everyone else has done their work, and they've done it much better than I have. And it's frustrating, but I'm gaining new experiences that they aren't. So it's like it's a give and take situation. It's like you either it's a bit like quantity versus quality. And that's what makes a leader a leader. Like if you think about a CEO in a corporation, a good CEO is someone who can handle all kinds of situations, all kinds of seasons in what the company is going through, right? In whatever phases of whatever the company is in. And that comes from having had prior experiences that are quite different. But you also need people who are super specialized at what they do. Like if you give them a task, if you send them a task, they should be flawless at doing it. And that's the job of the subordinates, right? And my job as a leader, it's not really to become super specialized at one thing. My job is to be able to weather whatever storm there is. I kind of fucked up. Did I? No. You chillin'. I've not come to design school to have a brilliant portfolio, you know what I'm saying? हेलो. हाँ, कितने लोग हैं अभी मेकर्स लैब पे? कौन? अभी क्या कर रहे हो काम तुम लोग? तेरे को पता है कैसे कटने वाला है? नहीं, आई एम सेइंग लिटरली काटना कैसे, बिकॉज कल कल उनका yesterday Omkar was saying that it's very difficult to cut it on the ground, and and I don't know अगर अपने पास time है to wait for Maker's Lab or one of the workshops to open, you know. हम्म हम्म क्योंकि ब्रो मेरा थर्मोकल का काम बिल्कुल भी नहीं हुआ, एंड आई हैव टू डू अ लॉट मोर पीओपी. हाँ, तो इट्स डिफिकल्ट यार. मेरे को काम भी करना है उस चीज़ का, बट इट्स सो हार्ड क्योंकि बिकॉज मैं लिटरली रोज़ आई हैव कम एट 9 और वहाँ पर कोई नहीं है ना. वेस्टेड 3-4 hours ऑफ माई एंटायर डे, एंड अब लास्ट डे सबमिशन का, तो मैं क्या करूँ. ठीक है, तेरा कितना बाकी है? अच्छा, मेरे तो सिर्फ 2 बने. एक काम करते हैं ना, I'll make as many as I can right now. I'll give you I'll give you whatever. I'll just cut a bunch of different cube and cuboidal shapes. मैं तेरे को दे दूंगा. अच्छा नहीं, तेरे रेक्टिलिनियर होगा. I'll make a bunch of हाँ, I'll make a bunch of like different curvilinear shapes, और जितने भी एक्स्ट्रा रहेंगे मैं तेरे को दे दूंगा शाम को, फिर तो उसके साथ काम कर लेंगे. हम्म हम्म Yeah, I'll take orange. उसकी तो इधर ही पड़े हुए हैं. Yes, ma'am. Bye bye. I don't think I've come to design school to make myself a really good portfolio and to get into a really nice design company where they need a product designer. I'm here to fucking learn, man. And as long as I get a good CGPA and I'm able to get into and have my options open for later on, that's what I want, right? I don't necessarily want to become the best designer possible. I just want to learn. I don't want to be. I mean, I want to have good projects. I don't necessarily want to. I mean, I want to do everything, man. I don't know. I'm in a dilemma myself. Okay, bye.